The work that I'm presenting is entitled Building a Theoretical Framework of Ethical Socioeducational Relationships, a review of Honneth and Butler theories, with Xavier Ucar that is in this room as well. So before going into the analysis of these theories, I like to make a brief synthesis of the background and the origin of the study. Because we are focusing on the field of social education in Spain that is related to social work. And in this context, the socioeducational practice of social education, okay? And the development of this socioeducational practice is developed in three spheres, as Storo and other authors say. The scientific development, the technical one, and the ethical development that includes all the set of values and ideals that guide our profession. So current academic literature expresses the need of developing an ethical perspective in social education, as the other axes are more developed in the profession now. So, and this ethical perspective, it's been addressed in three ways. The philosophical discourses, the professionalism ones, focus on deontology and code of ethics, and the praxis ones. My thesis that I'm presenting here is focused on that practical perspective. Okay, so to do it, in order to address this practical perspective, we focus on the core of the socioeducational action, that is the socioeducational relationship, the relationship we have with the people we work with. And Ucar defines it as a relationship where educators work together with subjects for the latter to acquire the necessary learning resources to increase and improve their capacity to be, behave, and act in the world in a dignified way. Okay, so in a previous study, we made a general overview of the state of the question of the ethical dimension in social education in the context of Spain. And we had a set of different conclusions that I'm not explaining all of them, but only to remark that we need a theoretical development that underpins practice, and a connection as well between theory and practice, and the need as well of intentionally incorporating this ethical dimension in the day-to-day work of the profession. Okay, so with these final remarks, we set a PhD project to address this need of developing the ethical dimension in social education with this practical perspective. Okay. So we set the objective of characterizing this ethical dimension in socioeducational relationships, and we have three different specific objectives that I'm focusing on the first one in this presentation. Okay, that is identifying the contribution of different authors of the human and social sciences to the construction of a theoretical model of the ethical dimension in the socioeducational relationship, as we said. Okay, to do it, to get this done, we propose a theoretical analysis of different authors from the social sciences. Okay, and I am focusing on the contributions made by Axel Honneth and Judith Butler. To analyze these contributions, I read two works of both authors, and I did a systematic review of their application in ethics and social and educational field. Okay, so now I'm going to talk to the theoretical contributions and the important concepts of each of these authors. I hope that this initial explanation helps you to situate a little bit why I'm doing this theoretical analysis. Okay, for each one, I'm going to analyze the purpose of the ethics according to their perspective, how they define the theory of recognition, that is the theory that I am focusing in this presentation, and the key aspects they present, how they materialize these proposals, and their approach in social transformation and responsibility, and the applications they have had in the social educational field. Okay. The ethical aims of the authors are what is ethics for him, what we look with ethics, okay? So for Honneth is personal self-realization. He focuses on the concept of justice, okay? And for Honneth, he says that a just society is one which people have the necessary recognition that allows them to achieve this personal self-realization. And for Butler, it's the aim is to inhabit a livable and habitable world. She says that we are not responsible only for the way that we are, but we are responsible as well for the shape we give to the world we live in. So one is focused on the person, and Butler is more focused on the world we live. Both of them, I think that we can get these ends through relations of recognition, okay? But they have different perspectives. Honneth mainly focuses on individual relationships and the expressions of recognition. He says that recognition is an act of decentering, that I move from putting the focus on myself to giving value to the other people, to recognize them. And therefore, recognition is a demonstration through gestures and expressions of the value given to the person in the framework of social interaction. Okay, and this, what he says is these expressions of recognition that we give to relationships are the way we treat, is a treatment that we receive, and this performs our identity. I don't know if this has sense. I'm trying to explain it. So, and Honneth focuses on these expressions and in the individual relations, and Butler focuses on the context and the frameworks of recognition. She focuses more on the reciprocity of the relationship and on the context and frameworks of recognition. For her, recognition implies that in a reciprocal and relational way, people must understand and recognize each other as unique and singular. So recognition is both given and received. She highlights this focus on the reciprocity. Okay, and she differentiates between the expressions of recognition and the relationships of recognitions. She says that expressions are not enough to build this reciprocity. And so she understands that these relationships are an open ethical project. They develop these ideas through different concepts, okay, that I'm trying to resume them a little bit, okay. Honneth talks about the forms of misrecognition that he defined them as experiences that affect the dignity of people. So it focuses on dignity. Okay, example of them are abuses, exclusion, violation of rights, marginalization, racism, sexism, social exclusion. So are problems that we handle in the social field. And he talks about one form of misrecognition, that is invisibilization. Okay, it's an active process in which attitudes of misrecognition toward another person are evident. Okay, to do this, to explain this, he differentiates between the physical age and the social sense. An example to explain this is when we are in the underground, or a person is in the underground and someone comes to ask for money. What is the reaction of people when someone addresses them to do it in this way, that they turn their eyes. They know that this person are this, but they avoid their existence in a social sense, in order to not having to answer to the needs of these people. Okay, I don't know if it has sense. Okay, then he presents the three spheres of recognition. Is another of his contributions, and he talks about the three spheres that differentiates the types of human relationships. So they are love, respect, and solidarity. I'm not going to explain them in a deep way, but it's talking that love talks about the close relationships and focus on personal needs. And some expressions that we can do in this sphere is, for example, giving emotional support or holding caring relationships. The second one sphere is about respect. It's related to legal recognition and equal relationships. So put the focus on working to the equality, okay, and an expression that we can give in this sphere of recognition is granting rights or let people participate and have their own voice in the public sphere, okay. And the last one is solidarity, that is related to social valuation and cooperative relationships. In this sphere, we put the focus on the value of difference and the inclusion of all the people. So expression of recognition in this sense is to promote an approval environment and to approve or applaud diverse abilities. Okay, so what is important in this sense is what Hone say that we can make with these three spheres. First of all, it allows us to do an analysis of people's social conditions, and secondly, to promote struggles of recognition when a person experiences some form of misrecognition. And the last, okay, the last concept that he talks about is freedom. He says that relationships of recognition also implies establishing relationship of freedom, and he talks of different freedoms that that people can have. Okay, negative is related to the movement. Positive is about the having our own willing, and social freedom is about having that the society offers institutions and resources and recognition necessary to perform the other freedom. Okay, what say Butler about this? She talks about recognition frameworks. She uses the theory of recognition, but she makes an emphasis on the context. Okay, Butler says that we have a preconstruct frameworks from which we see the world. Okay, so there's a social, cultural, and linguistic frameworks that set the norms that shape the way that we understand the world. Okay, and who is outside from these frameworks are not experiencing recognition. Okay, it's an operation of power. So what this means, people that are from this outside these frameworks experiences ethical violence. Okay, that can be when frameworks are imposed by violent means because they are no longer shared, or because people want to be themselves inside these frameworks, or because people want to broaden these frameworks in order to be accepted by the other people. Okay. And she says, as Honet, that this context, these frameworks perform our identity, okay? And that gives us labels and a way to behave in the world. That these frameworks build our identity in that way. Well, I'm trying to be very fast. The proposed actions, he says, they say to apply this recognition is Honeth focus on institutions and Butler on relationships. Honeth says that we need to have the formal institutions and the institutionalization of practices to reflect about the problems we have and to guarantee that this recognition is given. And Butler says that we need to reflect of ourselves. We need to understand that people have their own opacity, so we can't know all about them, okay? And we transform people through our relationship, okay? They converse in the reflection of the practice. They address social transformation in two ways, okay? The struggles of recognition and the political resistance, that are the conflicts that appear, or the subversive strategies that we can do to change the things to change society and these recognition frameworks. And both of them need to people have the agency and empowerment to make these fights of recognition or this political resistance. And well, they focus on responsibility, as I said, Honeth through the institutional level, and Butler through the relationships that we need to respond to the people's needs. Okay, and and this is what makes us responsible with the relationships we do with participants of the relationship and as we form part of an institution. I did a brief analysis about how this is applied in different social fields of social education, social work. Okay, I'm not explaining them because of the time. I'm trying to finish in 1 minute if I have. What I can say about this, now I'm presenting what I interpret about all of this, no? So with these applications that other authors have done and the interpretation of the theory, how we can, what we can do with this theory, I mean. So first of all, we have a framework of values that we can, that these theories give us about our practice, okay? That can underpin and we can take into account when think about social educational relationships. Secondly, it gives us some ideas about what issues we need to take, or what skills or what virtues we need to have as a professionals, no? About this social commitment to promoting the struggles of recognition, promoting the self-criticizing and to have a space to address ethical dilemmas. Okay, we can also please apply these theories in relation on how we see the person when we approach to them as a person with agency, responsibility, with their own opacity. About the intervention scenario, no, we can institutionalize, well, you can read here, of these practices in our institution and in our spaces, and try to broaden these frameworks of recognition, no? And recognize that we can manage, we can transform the relationships and affect to the identity of the person. And so we need to work with the community as well to broaden these frameworks of recognition. And we can do some actions as well as assessing the spheres of recognition, identifying misrecognition, or warranting freedom. And we can sorry, we can put this recognition into practice through the interaction with the person, applying some expression of recognition with our language, with our body, etc. I've explained this very quickly, and only to say that we need to think now how educators, how practitioners can put this ethics and this recognition into practice.